Okay, so I need to talk to you about what supposedly happened on the morning of the 31st of May 2026. Because if this story is true, then it could be one of the most carefully planned moves we have ever seen inside the British royal family. So let's start from the beginning. At around 9:12 a.m. in London, dozens of international news crew were already waiting outside Buckingham Palace. Then, unexpectedly, Catherine, Princess of Wales, arrived alone. There was no King Charles beside her, no Prince William, no senior royal standing nearby. It was just Catherine walking to the microphones and delivering a short statement. On the surface, her announcement sounded simple. She spoke about financial transparency and accountability within royal charities. She said, "The crown only holds value when it represents absolute transparency. Starting at midnight tonight, the entire royal charitable system will undergo a full independent forensic audit. Any undocumented funds will be immediately frozen. We do not protect mistakes in the dark, we bring them into the light." Now, most media outlets reported this as a routine modernization effort. However, according to this narrative, there was much more happening behind the scenes. Supporters of this story believe Catherine's announcement immediately triggered a financial review process that froze discretionary spending throughout parts of the royal charitable system. More importantly, they believe the phrase about bringing things into the light was directed at one specific person, Queen Camilla. What made the moment even more striking was that Catherine stood there completely alone. By appearing without Charles or William, she seemed to be projecting authority and confidence. Whether internationally or not, many people interpreted it as a sign that she was stepping into a much larger leadership role. Meanwhile, according to the story, events were unfolding elsewhere. At Red Mill House, in wheelchair, where Queen Camilla was reportedly staying, sources claim unusual restrictions were suddenly put in place. Then later that morning, a legal representative connected to Prince William allegedly arrived carrying important documents. According to the narrative, those documents contained a proposed agreement that would dramatically reduce Camilla's influence within royal operations. The claim is that if she signed, she could keep her title but lose control over many public and administrative functions. Future statements, engagement, and communications would reportedly require approval through other royal channels. So why would she even consider signing? According to the story, investigators had supposedly uncovered financial irregularities involving charitable funds linked to organizations within Camilla's wider patronage network. The amount often mentioned in these reports is approximately $12.4 million. Supporters of this theory claim that money intended for charitable purpose was redirected through a complex network of organizations connected to private interests. It is important to note that none of these claims have been properly proven. However, within the story, this alleged evidence became the leverage used against Camilla. The choice, according to the narrative, was simple: accept the agreement and avoid public exposure, or refuse and risk a larger investigation. The timing was also critical. That afternoon, the Privy Council was scheduled to approve important financial records connected to the royal household. According to the story, any unresolved issues needed to be addressed before the meeting took place. Then around 3:30 p.m., an official announcement was released. The statement said that Queen Camilla would be stepping back from public duties because of unexpected health concerns requiring extended rest. For royal watchers, that wording immediately stood out. Historically, health-related statements often bring public questions to a heart because they create privacy around the situation. As a result, speculation quickly spread. Many people began asking the same question: if the allegations were serious, why not remove Camilla completely? according to supporters of the theory? The answer was King Charles. A public scandal involving the Queen consort could severely damage both the king's reputation and the image of the monarchy itself. So instead of removing her title, the institution supposedly chose a quieter solution, allowing her to remain queen consort while reducing her operational influence behind the scenes. At the center of this entire story was Charles' silence. He did not publicly defend Camilla, he did not challenge Catherine's announcement, and he did not comment on the rumors. To many observers, the silence became one of the most talked about aspects of the day. Then, as the evening approached, another detail caught people's attention. The personal standard of Princess of Wales was reportedly raised above Kensington Palace. To most people, that may have seemed insignificant. However, within royal tradition, symbols often carry powerful meaning. Supporters of the story viewed it as a sign that Catherine's influence inside the monarchy had reached a new level. After 15 years within the royal family, many believe she has learned how the institution truly operates behind closed doors. And according to this narrative, on May 31st was the clearest example yet. But just when the story seems finished, another twist emerged. According to reports leading to the story, investigators allegedly discovered evidence of a financial transfer completed shortly before access to certain systems that was restricted. The money, they claim, was not sent to a British account. Instead, it was reportedly routed to an offshore entity connected to Montecito, California. And that immediately raised eyebrows because Montecito is home to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The claim suggests that funds may have moved towards an organization connected to the successes. However, this is where the story becomes even more speculative. There is no public proof explaining the purpose of such a transfer, if it occurred at all. Still, supporters of the theory argue that it changes everything. For years, the public has viewed Harry, Meghan, and Camilla as being an opposite side of the royal tension. Yet, this alleged financial connection suggests there may have been far more happening behind the scenes than anyone realized. If true, it would mean the most important part of the story is no longer inside Britain. Instead, it would be sitting beyond palace control and outside direct royal authority. And that is why many people believe May 31st was not the end of the story. According to this narrative, it was only the beginning. The power shift inside the palace may be real, Catherine's growing influence may be real, and the events of the day may have changed the future direction of the monarchy. But if important records truly exist beyond the reach of the royal household, then the biggest chapter of this story may still be waiting to be written. And that brings us to the end of today's story. Of course, many parts of this narrative remain unverified, and much of this is based on claims, theories, and reports that continue to circulate online. But whether you believe it or not, it certainly raises some fascinating questions about power, influence, and the future of the royal family. So what do you think? Was this a carefully planned shift in royal authority?